What's that, sorry? Hey, Terence.
Hey Aiden, how's it going?
Going. Weirdly got prompted for a Zoom meeting code when I tried to join. Oh, not no more. It
Is it because you're the host?
shouldn't be. How's things anyway?
All right. Glad to be back from traveling for work last week.
Yeah, it was traveling for pleasure last week, which is better.
How are things in Bloomberg land?
Good. Just very busy. I mean, that's a good complaint, I suppose. We're doing. I'm doing lots of internal Buildpacks things, which is interesting. Um, but does make it difficult to do external Buildpacks things. But we'll get
Well,
there.
I feel like internal means that you're at least using it, so that's good.
Yeah, no, we've got a lot of things going on. I've got more teams talking about different things and wondering why this isn't as flexible as it should be and this kind of stuff. So they're good questions that I'm getting. But no, in general, it's good. Hey, everyone, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you? A little tired. Good. Uh, Cubecom is coming, right? And are you going, right? Terrence?
Yeah, I'm going. Are you coming?
No, no, for the US, no.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think they only fund for one stuff per year, something like that.
Yep.
Uh,
I don't even know if it's every year, but yeah.
mm,
I did submit something to KubeCon EU. Uh,
yeah, you get your song? Not yet, right?
no,
No, I feel like we won't hear back till next year, right?
sometime in the future, and any time in the future right now is not now. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's for the main track, right?
It was for the main
Yep.
track. I
Yep.
thought we may as well just throw something in and see. I
Good.
know it wasn't as, you know, normally we put an awful lot more thought into these things, but I thought it was just useful to throw it in.
Yeah. And I think the
Yeah.
Paquero team also sent something for the main track.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think I submitted some AI thing with a coworker as well.
Ooh.
Nice. For the U, right?
Yeah, for you.
So we have to
I'm
ask,
actually
is that really you, Terence, or is it just a bot in your place?
it's me, I guess.
So what did you submit?
Basically talking about the architecture and stuff for the Heroku vibe coding thing that we launched recently. About potentially how you can build agents using coding agents instead of building out a whole thing in like LangChain or something, and kind of the architecture and infrastructure you use to power something like that.
Oh,
Um, and I guess the thing that we're not quite there, but the thing that I've been talking to Jesse about has been how to close the loop and get build packs in there.
wow. turns out that I should be able to talk on how to use Buildpacks to build stuff for AI platforms.
Yep. Yep. Um, one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how, yeah, to leverage build packs and maybe some of the exec stuff to build out like dev environment, stamp out dev environments, and if there's an intersection for that.
Interesting.
Because if you're doing like a vibe coding thing, you don't actually want a production environment for the thing that the obviously the coding agents like it's like doing development, right? First before it like deploys an app. So
Yeah.
trying to see if like execenv has an intersection for that and what does that architecture look like? Because essentially you want a coding agent that can do things in any language or whatever you want to support. And I think the if you look at stuff like Agent Core and other things, I feel like the thing they do is they basically pre-bake a bunch of images, but you have no idea what you're building before you get the first prompt, right?
So I know we've spoken about this publicly before, so I'm happy to read it, but we were using KPack to stamp out these kind of dev environments. They really were mini production environments running on dev clusters, but we got the speed of iteration from KPack and it not having to rebuild the entire image every single time you went through that loop workflow. And I know internally we experimented with things like scaffold as well for that kind of stuff. And for me personally, if at some stage we could convince Docker to give us not just an image in Docker Compose, but like some kind of build and just delegate the pack to do a build, that would be like super for me. But
Yeah, we're
don't think
trying to
that's good.
balance the idea of being able to do something like you're talking about, like producing an actual artifact that is a runnable dev image for something like a
Hmm.
dev container, but also be able to interactively, basically run build packs iteratively as an agent, right? So an agent's like, oh, I want Node.js to start off with, right? And then like later on, prompting has come in, and you're like, oh, you know what? It would be great if I had, Nginx here too, right? And so they run another, shell command or a tool call to basically run the Nginx build pack and get that set up locally as well. And so, and then they may not produce an image at the end of that agent flow. They may just produce source code that then would go through your normal build pack pipeline to produce a production grade image. So that's kind of,
Can't believe you're enabling this, Jesse.
I mean, we haven't done anything yet. That's what we're just talking about it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds interesting.
But
It,
it
it,
is
it,
interesting because you
are-
have to not have detect, right? Like you
yeah,
can't, obviously, if you have like a build pack that's looking for a package JSON and you have a blank empty workspace, then it's not really going to work out. You need to be able to let the agent say, I want Node.js, regardless of what's in their workspace, and then be able to change the version
yeah.
maybe later, right? Because they continually, do weird things that they're like, oh, I need to be back on a different version of Python or a different version of Node and stuff like that.
Uh, it sounds kind of like you using build packs almost as a package manager in that way.
Yes. Yeah, it is very much like that because there are certain classes of build packs that probably won't work very well. Like if you're mutating the workspace in any
Hmm.
way, like that, it's almost off limits, right? Like if you're like dumping all your Java code and then and putting a single binary as part of your build pack, then it's not really going to work for you, which is where execenv comes in, right? Where like if you know that execenv is development, then you cannot do those mutations in the workspace, right? Like that could be the trigger for your production versus development workflow is that the build pack knows that in development mode, it's not going to mutate the workspace as much or whatever, and put all the stuff in a layers directory instead, so that you can continue to iterate and hopefully be a little more conducive to like a dev flow.
Yeah, I feel like Go is
Interesting.
probably the quintessential build pack that probably people think about for that.
Exactly, because no one expects a production grade image to have your .go files anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And your Java build pack is actually a good example because if it detects a Spring Boot project, then it explodes the jar at the end of the build and
Yeah.
Yep.
will delete your source.
Really take
Interesting.
two from Salesforce Heroku. We've done some of this work before execenv existed in an older Salesforce functions workflow. But it was more geared towards kind of almost like a scaffold where like it would automatically build and like you could make some code changes and then it would automatically produce it again. But it was geared towards a different sort of end goal, and this one is more, what if we made each sort of Buildpacks invocation, where we're kind of toying with the idea of like being a pipeline stage, right? So every single time you call, instead of creator, if you had something like stage execute, right? And then you could pass in Buildpacks or, whatever, and then it's just going to keep you in the container, keep you on the builder until you sort of run the final stage, until you kind of tell it that you're done, and then it could either create an OCI image or not do anything. There's a whole lot of unknowns to figure out as far as metadata and stuff if you do produce an image. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, what is execenv? Have I just forgotten something?
Yes. There's an RFC that was merged.
It was the one that was proposed around having different like execution environments, like
Yes, sorry,
production,
yeah.
test, development. Um,
Execution environments makes sense to me now. Thank you.
I do think some of this work that we want to do in Heroku for this probably would help generically if like we were to try to retrofit this into like some VS Code interaction thing, because similar to like the coding agent, right? Like if I'm building an environment for development, I probably actually just want the tooling, because then
Mm-hmm.
I, as a developer in VS Code, I just want a container that has my tools in it, man. You know? And then if I need new tools, just like let me run it or whatever. And you want it to be fast, right? Like I don't need the build pack to run npm install or run Maven, right? Like I just need it to put it there. So
Yeah.
I can do that because my IDE will do that for me, right? Like I will run the thing and it will execute whatever magic VS Code wants it to do.
We're trying to keep it generic enough that other non-dev workflows make sense. So like one of the ones that Joe's talked about a couple times is like a build pack that produces Terraform, right? And then you want to then do stuff with that Terraform. And so it'd be nice to treat the first stage that, has no Terraform in it as like stage one, and then it produces Terraform, and then another group of build packs can run after that as stage two that would only run because there is Terraform now, right? And so by sort of being able to, and you can still produce an image at the end of it. And so instead of having to produce an intermediate image that has Terraform and then using that as input manually to your own build process through like workspace mounting, then you can, chain in a single pack build, you know, um, two stages of build pack groups is kind of how I'm thinking of it mentally.
As far as I recall, we always said that we've always shied away from that route because then you become effectively a pipeline of things, or worst case scenario, a DAG of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we're experimenting to see whether it makes sense to, look at that stance differently now, just
Uh,
because of like agents and stuff, because those are really
yeah,
pipeline stages, right? You're like, I have installed
right.
Node, and then an hour later, the agent might decide it needs Nginx. And
Yeah,
so effectively, you've come back around to the idea of pipeline stages,
yeah.
but not necessarily, exactly the same, but it does look very similar. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good call out and lens to look at it with. Because if we still don't like that, then we should, shy away.
Yeah, I do think the agent stumbles its way there versus it being explicit, but I do think the Terraform thing has the benefit of you could do it today with multiple pack execution runs, but it basically is built on the fact that it's not trying to carry anything over from /layers. So it is literally using input from like workspace as the new source tree. And because you basically don't need anything else, like you can pipeline it today, right? And I think one of the differences that Jess and I were talking about this week was, well, in that model, but I actually do want the things in layers, probably. Like I want the tooling that I put in the /layers. I don't just want to like pop everything. I mean, I guess we could just pop everything in /workspace, right? But I think you ideally don't want to do that
Yeah.
and use that as input there. But I think that's why you can do Joe's specific kind of use case that he's brought before, because it doesn't actually rely on like the entire thing that Buildpacks normally use, and you can just treat that as it's easy to carry that source over or as the source kind of going forward. In fact, he doesn't even care about the original source code of the app, right? He just like treats /workspace
Which you
as the
could,
source.
right? Yeah, like having
you could.
if pipelining it, you could like generate Terraform in a layer, and as long as your next pipeline knows to look for Terraform in the previous, layers output artifact, then like it could you could leave the source code there, which might be useful in some cases, right? So then you could have the Terraform in there and also your code that does, it's a mono repo. It might have some Python code in there.
Yeah. I see two things in the future topics here that relate to the doc stuff. The state of the noble stacks and builders. Who's Josh G?
I don't know.
I thought we were fairly up to date. Maybe I need to think myself and just get stuff done there and samples. And then, yeah, I can understand why people think that Buildpacks docs hasn't been maintained recently. But there was a couple of PRs, too many PRs, outstanding for weeks because I just didn't get to it. And then there was there's me, Joe, and Natalie who are got ability to review things in the learning maintainers. I wonder if we should reduce the bar there because obviously Natalie's emeritus now, and yeah, I mean, if I write something, I've got to wait for Joe to review it, and if he writes something, he's got to wait for me to review it. And I think it's probably fair to say that neither of us have got particularly huge amounts of free time at the moment, but getting back on top of it again. One thing I noticed over the weekend was that obviously we no longer have Gitpod because that thing has turned into OVA, and that's yeah. So I'll need to sort that out. But yeah, apologies. I've let things drop there, but we'll sort that out.
What is OVA?
It's whatever Gitpod turned into, and
I
it's
see.
some magic AI
Branding
tool,
or something. Yeah.
which is fine. It confused me, and I need an x86 machine, so to run a lot of stuff on. So I'll just go back to using Google Cloud. And
It's so much more AI. It looks just like ChatGPT. I've never. Anyway.
Have you heard about Dagger? Yeah.
Yeah.
it's not related to what you were talking before, like having mutating an image, and like I took this image as an input and then I do something and I output another image that has something else, and I can like change, mutating the image from one step to another. Not sure if like it's like I took some image and then I can just like produce another one running having an agent that it's running some build packs and going on and on and on. So I'm not sure if it's something related to that, or it's something like we want to integrate with to accomplish the main goal. Not sure if I get
There
it right.
is build pack integration with Dagger, but I still think you have limitations of anything in the build pack world will has the spec defined of like what it means to input into the new life cycle of it, right?
Okay.
Right? Like build pack expect, like if I'm a build pack author, I write a thing with the expectation it complies with the spec. So if you were to do a thing in Dagger and I was to bring stuff forward, like it expects it to behave the same way each time, right?
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Right, I have an all hands, so I'm going to draw and I'll listen to people as we talk about other interesting things.
Cool.
Thanks, folks.
Good. Me too. I have something else. Nice to see you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah. Um, do you want to work through some of this stuff?
Yeah, do you want to hop in?
We can hop
a
into a
meet
work thing. Yeah.
something? Yeah. All right.
I think Rune wants to
Okay.
join up so we can.
Yeah, if he's around, we can chat
Yeah.
about it.
I mean,
I haven't
the
done it
Dagger
much.
thing's interesting, but I do think we have limitations around what you can do in Build
Yeah.
Pack land.
Okay.
All right.